Peace. Secret House. Hey, Secret House Against. Welcome back. Thank you guys for clocking in. As you can see here, this is we're reviewing the new Fatboi Sharif Justolium King Spitter album, also known as Bigg Jus. This is an EP called the Insomniac Missile Launcher EP. Is there a the?
I don't think there is a the.
This is our second time trying to record it because I messed up in the first part. The metadata that we got. First, we should say that shout out to Fatboi Sharif for launching us this album early. We've had it for about a month and got to sit on it and talk about it for a minute. 4 songs, 14 minutes, 41 seconds. So just an EP, but we had to restart because the metadata that I had on my information when I imported it into my player was a little different. And so, yeah, we're still trying to figure it out. So if any of the details are slightly off, cut us some slack and, just listen to the music in the first place. So, yes. But, yeah, man, this is, I suppose, Bigg Jus' first actual headlining album that he's had since 2012 or something like that.
Decade, yeah, give or take.
Yeah, so I was super hyped to hear about this one. Bigg Jus has been on other projects. He was on the Shook World. He was on the Shook World project, King Vision Ultra, and he's been around here or there, and I've heard rumblings. And also, Fatboi Sharif sent some songs from some new Nafem modulation systems joints that came out too. They're out, but it's kind of I don't do the social media, so I didn't know that they were out. I was happy to get them. They were really dope, and this project is kind of in the same kind of vein as that Nafem modulations, avant-garde, odd approach to hip hop music. And since we haven't talked about Bigg Jus before, let's talk about Bigg Jus a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of those cats that you shouldn't have to ask when did you get into them, because for me he's been kind of a giant in hip hop since I can basically remember being a hip hop head. In my early b-boy days, I was hearing Company Flow. I remember I saw the End to End Burners video on BET back when Joe Claire was hosting Rap City, and the End to End Burners video was so dope. It's them in the subways, there's them rapping, and he's Bigg Jus is moving his hands, and there's a hand style going around and writing graffiti, and to me Bigg Jus has just been such an incredible influence on me. And also it just is impossible to really quantify how much this dude has influenced hip-hop. I think a lot of people might not know who he is, people who are more into your mainstream popular hip-hop, being a hip-hop human being from the perspective of purchasing and buying music. People that make hip-hop on the low and been a part of 4-element hip-hop culture, they definitely must know about Bigg Jus. I mean, legendary member of Company Flow. It fell apart before kind of the really tremendous rise of independent underground hip hop music in the early aughts, but he's been around just fucking killing. He's got Black Mamba Serums. We were going to do the Gaffling Whips book club joint. I still would like to do that.
Still do that sometime.
I love that joint. He's just Poor People's Day. I just fuck with Bigg Jus. I've been such a huge fan. I suppose because you're 10 years younger than I am, and Company Flow had already come and gone, and Def Jux was almost dissipating at the time, that you really were getting into it. When did you get into Bigg Jus?
I mean, by the time I really considered myself a hip-hop head, it was I guess 04, 05. I grew up with hip-hop in my house, but I was very aware of Company Flow, but I was not present for the era of Company Flow, as it were. And yeah, I would say I'm a casual NMS fan as well.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm not as familiar with Orko's work, for example, as I am with Bigg Jus. And then obviously, I feel Bigg Jus casts a massive shadow over what we do on Secret House.
True that.
Whether that's through his presence on things we've reviewed, or just because of the far-reaching influence of his work with CoFlow and with Nephilim modulation systems and as a solo artist.
He is, you know, at the time that he was really dropping music, especially that Gaffling Whips project, I was just getting out of high school and developing my own kind of political ideology and also reinforcing my thoughts and philosophy on hip hop culture. And he played a huge role in that. Yeah, he played a huge role in me kind of a lot of the thoughts and ethics that I have. If you listen back to that first Company Flow joint, he's got a straight song on there that is just him rifling off, you know, graffiti giants. And back in the days, like if you were worth your salt in any type of hip hop community in your city, you knew who the graph writers were, not necessarily personally, but you knew who was getting up. You, when you saw the pieces, like, damn, that fool is getting up, you know, like, and I just love Bigg Jus. Yeah, this was a really pleasant surprise. I'm glad to see that he still got it and he's still styling and he still continues to push the envelope on sound and kind of the organization of the way that the album is structured in terms of like vocal layering and just approach. This joint is really just dope. You know?
He also produced the whole album.
Yeah, that's right. He's been dope at everything, shit. And before we get into that, like, you know, the other cat on the project, Fatboi Sharif, is another person who I imagine if you asked him, he would say similar things that I just said about Bigg Jus. Yeah, huge influence on the culture, and we love Fatboi Sharif, and we've been clocked into his work a lot. And I think that he follows that kind of radical, avant-garde, experimental, extreme originality approach that Bigg Jus has. Check out the Caltrops Press release. There's a nice interview. This was the April 2022 issue of Caltrops Press. There's a nice interview in there with Fatboi Sharif where he gets into kind of his approach and some of the philosophy and his thoughts on the way that he curates and creates songs and albums. So yeah, do all that, man. Fatboi Sharif forever, Bigg Jus forever, and that's the end of the show. No, I'm just right now, but fucking yeah.
Insomniac missile launcher drops Halloween, which is today. If you're watching this on the day of release, it's tomorrow. If you're us, How do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, like, first off, this is not the most accessible album. Like, this comes from the experimental, from the avant-garde, from the left of convention, and that's one of the reasons that I really enjoy it. The production that Bigg Jus uses on this album is varied, but it is also like similar. You know, it's like it's not like there's different sounds emerging and different soundscapes emerging. There's songs that feel a little bit more industrial. There's songs that have a little bit more airy, etheric space. But one of the things that's consistent is this kind of world building and sonic tapestry that's occurring around you. Some of the songs you kind of feel like they're beating your ass. Yeah. And other ones, it was like, it's like watching, you know, it's like my eyes just slowly widening as it would if you were watching a giant wave form. Like, you know, like just something just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? This is getting weird.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like, this is getting huge.
There's a temptation to label this kind of music as horrorcore, I think. And the reason I distance what this is from that genre is because the horror that is generally experienced on this record is not that of a like schlock horror movie. Yeah. It's not a slasher flick. It is a deeply existential, but also like very rooted in the, you know, dystopian nature of today's capitalism. Yeah. That is the horror, the core of this record. And it does the production on this does a really good job of carrying that sense of existential horror, the fear and paranoia that permeates the whole record. Although there is like and maybe not as much in the production, but lyrically, I think there is a degree of like hope and positivity that runs underneath it, and I find
a lot of this shit kind of funny too.
I mean, it's
some of this shit is kind of hard too. But
there's a humor as well.
I agree with you about like that horrorcore descriptor that's thrown around with a lot of Fatboi Sharif's music, or even music that might sound like this. This does carry a bit more of like a capitalist realism, like existential horror than it does anything else. And in you know, Bigg Jus fashion, like at least post 2001 Bigg Jus, he does kind of delve into a lot of what I would describe as kind of esoteric philosophy, esoteric history, knowledge, conspiratorial rhetoric, and things of that nature. Like the orco and the phlegm modulation systems, it's kind of right there in the name. Like you get the phlegm, you get this kind of like hidden history of the occult, the elite rulers, and there's a lot of bars on this that
techno horror like veneer over the top of it, which is something you see all over this record.
The beats are dark and grimy at times, and other times they are a bit horrifying, but in the sense of like the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka boat ride horrifying. You know, it's like yeah, there's pictures of bugs flashing on the screen, but it's not necessarily like, you know, your like slasher flick, like, oh my god, that's disgusting. There's just like a lot of things here, and one of the things I like the most about this is that like Bigg Jus, his approach to lyricism matches so well with what Fatboi Sharif is doing. They're kind of tonally similar at times, and even on the first track, Insomniac Missile Launcher, there's a layering of both of their vocals over the parts of the song, and it works really well. But you know, Bigg Jus is fucking king spitter. He's fucking just styling, putting these word ideas together, putting really dope word combinations together. He's always been extremely dope at that type of shit.
And they play off of each other so well in that respect, because Sharif does a really incredible job of painting these landscapes and creating these kind of settings in each individual track. And usually he takes point and then Jus comes in second. And it's like often I feel like Sharif paints the picture and then Jus navigates it.
Word. Yeah, I mean, it starts off like Sandman, Property, Polar Opposite. I would love if I had the ability to really do justice to Fatboi Sharif's lyrics, because there's a lot of stuff on here that I really want to be like Poltergeist when the ice is risen, ice pick that he does and goes off. But most of the shit is like, I don't know if I can really do the cancer icicle, you know what I mean? Like sacrificing. I don't want to fuck it up, and it sounds ridiculous. But when he does it, and trust that as I'm listening to this and learning the lyrics, I'm undoubtedly singing the song along with him. But I would never try to be like, "Yo, have you heard these bars?" And be like, "Here goes a Fatboi Sharif bar." It's amazing. It's like, you know, there, to me, I haven't really picked out like the total meaning of the songs or whatever, and a lot of it I'm taking is just like, you know, catch the motif, catch the aesthetic, catch the feeling and the atmosphere that's presented here, and catch how dope it is. I love some of these fucking word combinations that they're putting together.
We did get some liner notes for the record. There's like a paragraph on each individual track.
Is there any in particular that you want to share?
Yeah, so on Grimy Squadron Grow a Garden, the second track of the album.
Favorites.
I think that's pretty my favorite on there.
Also, what a fucking dope name for a song. Yeah. We should have named the YouTube channel that.
Right.
Grimy Squadron
Grow a Garden. My laptop has taken our temperature for years now, and the symptoms keep spreading, and hysteria, full effectiveness, underlying camera clone recording of your family tree, roots transferred towards the mud circles of police invasion, mental illness, and the public's thirst for blood.
Bro, and on that song, right, Grimy Squadron Grow a Garden, it's, you know, I be saying, you know, a lot, but fucking Bigg Jus is going off on all this capitalist realism and putting together this shit that's just like, he'll say some shit like, soldier's soul to be savagely effeminate. Like, I don't know, like, or shit just like, he also sounds kind of like a Jamaican kind of toaster on the first part of that.
Absolutely, like a toaster dancehall rhythm type flow going on at the beginning of that track. You see it like come up quite a bit. And, you know, it's been prevalent in his discography in the past, of course.
Negroes with severe Stockholm syndrome, out of control spending. Yeah, he bombs this shit. Like like he says, the livest thing you can do is grow a garden. The gangsterist thing you can do is grow a garden. Yeah, that might be my favorite one on the album as well. That and Ghost Story, the third track, which I also really love. The way that those kind of like deep drums come in slowly after is that Fatboi Sharif at the beginning of that's kind of building this kind of atmosphere, and then the drums come in. It was like Altered State Paradise. I'm not going to do Paradise. Yeah, but yeah, you know, Children of the Rising Sun. It's so dope. And then the drums drop out, and Bigg Jus is like floating in amniotic fluid in an embryonic state, using echolocation to triangulate the mind's eye to the 33 vertebrae. And I'm just like, bro, he is grabbing from so much esoteric Gnostic shit that I would probably only know about if I didn't take a huge amount. I had several years of my life where I was a part of this. Like the last track, he talks about like the morphogenic substrata. The only reason I know about morphogenic fields is because like the 100 monkey theory and you know, consciousness moving faster than light and all this. Yeah, but there's a lot of that on this album, and it's just tremendously ill because of it and for it and with it. I don't know, man. Any other? I feel like this is more of a kind of like pay attention to this, check this out,
like, check this out.
Yeah, and we're happy to fucking listen to it, and we're glad to see Bigg Jus back than it is like an actual album review. But this is a great album to listen to on Halloween if you really want to like have your eyes widen like a wave's about to break. It's fucking dope. God vs. Godzilla. I think my
Your one's
thing
God
says
Godzilla.
God vs. Godzilla, but on the album joint
it
it says
God.
that.
Mine also just said God, but I think I downloaded it a little later, so maybe you have an earlier version of that track.
Yeah, I was just going off the metadata on my Power Amp audio player or whatever. I just downloaded the songs and then imported it into there, and everything that filled out, I was like, all right. So, you know, even on that, it doesn't come up as like Bigg Jus, Fatboi Sharif. It's just Justolium, King Spitter.
Right.
So maybe that's what he's going by these days. But yeah, I think it's also on the
production is credited to Justolium, King Spitter.
Okay, I imagine that's not just his production name, because calling yourself King Spitter as a producer only would be
right. But I mean,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, either way, yeah, do what you do. He's fucking
Justolium.
Bigg Jus could do whatever the fuck he wants, man. That's an absolute legend. I fucking yeah. But that Gafflin Whips EP has we've got to talk about that one. I made so many notes about that. I really wanted to get King Vision Ultra on to talk about that with us, because I want to get into a lot of the material conditions that were happening at the time and how Bigg Jus kind of relates them to his experience of hip hop at the time. And also, I used to steal a lot of cars, so it's always sat really well with me, man. Bigg Jus, Fatboi Sharif,
Insomniac Missile Launcher
EP. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I should have got like a bald wig, and like I would have been like Anthony Blacktano or some shit. Internet's busiest music blurred.
I'm doing my costume tomorrow. Did my costumes over the weekend. Almost got into a fist fight. Like I like that. I need a rest today.
It was good that I wasn't there then, because I wanted to go. Because I feel like I would have.
That would have gone. Messy.
Nobody's about to throw a fucking drink. Not at Harry. It was at Harry's.
It was at Harry's. Yeah.
Okay.
When he threw a drink at me.
Fucking absurd. Absurd.
People think they're the main character out here. It's rough.
I think it's a world thing going on, man. You guys need to listen to this album and really get the fucking diagnostics, man. Like the real shit's going on. I've been Android 17 for my Halloween costume, by the way. I've been dressing like Android 17 since last winter. Nobody's mentioned it, but
I've been running Spike Spiegel for like 4 years now, and like it's a good look, and people compliment me on it every time, and it's like very easy because I have a yellow shirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just tuck my jeans to my socks, and I basically just rock the regular Android 17 look. Yeah. Jeans, t-shirt. Yeah. Anyways, man, Secret House Against.
Secret House.